Hey fellow YouTubers, this is Scott's Garage, my house garage. I'm just a grease monkey by fun, that's all. I got a 95 Saab, new generation, 900 SE, turbo. Got it to fix it up. First things first, alternator's junk, frozen solid. So I climbed under there and I tried to undo those Allen head socket screws, one there and one there. That's what holds the alternator onto the bracket that's on the side of the motor in the back. Frozen solid, couldn't get those out. It's a 95. I think the alternator's original, because judging by the patina on it, it's all never been out, so it was never going to come out. So I mean, I've done a lot. I've spent a couple days on this thing taking it apart, and I just wanted to impart a little bit of wisdom, if I have any, to give to anyone looking to do this job. First thing, I guess, I did have to take out this shaft, the half shaft to the axle. Nobody told me it was splined. It goes through this bracket, but it's a splined part. I didn't know it, but it comes apart. So I took that piece out. And I still had that one that goes into the transmission through this support bearing, which is attached to the entire bracket that holds the alternator to the back of the motor. And this is what the sucker looks like. You know, you get your idler pulley, tensioner assembly, alternator. So I figured I couldn't get the bolts undone. They were starting to strip these bolts that fasten the alternator to the bracket. So I figured I'd take the whole bracket out. Well, this thing is so long and this is so long, they're almost right up against the frame. The frame right up inside here. And you couldn't slide this out far enough out of the transmission to drop it down and take the whole assembly out. Oh, and by the way, to get the assembly out, drop the muffler, drop the catalytic converter, because if you don't, you can't get at any of this. So here's the transmission input shaft. This little cover that with 4 screws that I'd undo. That comes off. So I was resorting to last resort things. So I tried to, this piece was bumping up against the frame, so I cut it off. Alas, shorter, still too long. This thing, I guess it's not an integral part of the it looks like it's bolted right here. There's a bolt that comes through, but with it in the car, you know, that bolt's 3 inches long. There's no way you can get the bolt out. So I did not even attempt to remove this. I just wanted to take the entire bracket out. So I had it. I had the shaft loose. The bracket's all been undone. It was flopping around in there. I couldn't do anything, so I decided to cut the alternator. And so what I did was I took my Sawzall, and on the bottom piece I started to cut. See that right there? And when I got through, the alternator fell right off. Turns out there's 2 separate brackets no one tells you about. The bearing support for the drive shaft is one bracket, and that's what the bottom of the alternator bolts to. Come on, focus. That's what the bottom of the alternator bolts to. And the top of the alternator is bolted to the second bracket, that is the tensioner assembly bracket. So once it came apart, it all came out. So now what I have to do is extract this bolt out and remove this part of the alternator's housing. and extract this bolt. That little sucker deep inside there. That goes through this bracket right to there, which is all going to be a pain in the ass, but it's out of the car and now it's doable. So if I can impart any wisdom, again, first off, don't even try to do it from up top. The top of the engine, there's no room. No room at all. Drop the header pipe and the catalytic converter. If you could separate it from the exhaust system, take it right out of the car. That's what I did with mine. It's right here. As you can see. And then you have an infinite amount of room to work with back there. You know, it just makes life a lot easier when you can get at things. And the designers didn't really figure that when they built this sucker. Of course not. They bolt it to the frame and then stick it up into the car from underneath on the assembly line. Fix it? Well, nobody needs to fix it, right? It's a Saab. So anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. It's been a real pain in the ass, but if your bolts are frozen, cut that bottom one. Cut that bottom mount for the alternator housing, and the whole thing will come apart. Of course, there's like 19 bolts hidden in there. This one was the most fun, I think, to get at. It's hidden against the engine, between the engine and the alternator. I had to buy a crow's foot to get on it, 13 millimeter. Couldn't get a wrench in there. Box end wrench didn't fit. Nothing fit. So, but there's a bolt there. There's a bolt at the top. There's a bolt behind the idler. There's a bolt beneath the tensioner. And then down here, the other half of the thing, there's a bolt on the bottom there. There's a bolt behind that, hiding. Another bolt there, and another bolt up there. There's no shortage of bolts on this little mess. So, good luck. And try not to throw too many tools.